All right, welcome. In this explainer, we're going to step into a world that, honestly, we all know like the back of our hand. But we're going to look at the darkness that can hide right there in plain sight. We are diving into some true horror stories that have unfolded right under those familiar fluorescent lights of our local superstores.
You know the feeling, right? The automatic doors slide open with that little whoosh. You get hit with that wave of air conditioning and that low, constant hum of a giant retail store. It's this whole landscape of endless, super brightly lit aisles, a place so common it's basically part of the furniture of modern life. But what happens when that comfortable feeling just curdles into fear? When that background noise suddenly sounds unsettling, and that huge crowd of strangers feels less like a community and more like a hunting ground? Well, that's exactly what we're going to explore today.
So, first things first. Let's dig into why these massive, everyday places feel so safe to begin with, and how that exact perception can be totally shattered in just a matter of moments.
I mean, if you think about it, these stores are literally designed to make us feel secure. The lighting is super bright, it's always on, no spooky shadows. There are tons of other people around, so you get that safety in numbers vibe. You see the little camera domes on the ceiling, employees in their vests, you know, the layout. It feels like a totally controlled environment. Or at least that's what we tell ourselves.
Okay, so let's get into our first story, and this is an account where that feeling of safety just completely vanishes for one shopper, turning a simple trip for groceries into an absolute nightmare.
So this story starts out totally normal. A woman is just trying to get her shopping done. But pretty quickly, she gets that horrible feeling. She realizes she's not alone. She's being followed by this guy she described as just creepy and gangly, and his presence immediately turns these familiar aisles into a terrifying maze.
And here you can see the predator's path, how it just got worse and worse. It started with step one, just an unnerving glance over in the produce section. You know, something you might just brush off. But then, a second, much closer sighting over by electronics. By the time she gets to the checkout lanes, he's there, just waiting. The whole store has become a trap, and it all leads to this final, disgusting confrontation right near the exit.
This whole ordeal is just a chilling reminder of how a psychological threat can completely destroy a person's sense of safety. It proves that feeling secure is so fragile. It really is an illusion we build for ourselves. But what happens when that illusion doesn't just get cracked, but completely shatters, and the threat becomes tragically physical?
This next story, it's a really heartbreaking one. It's a reminder of just how fast a totally routine situation can spiral into deadly violence, right there in the parking lot that we all walk through without even thinking twice.
This is the story of Mike, a Walmart greeter. You know the type, a familiar, friendly face for who knows how many shoppers. His entire job was just to welcome people, but one night, simply doing his job ended up costing him his life.
This timeline just shows you the horrifying speed of it all. At 9:45 p.m., it's just a standard shoplifting call, nothing out of the ordinary. 2 minutes later, the suspect is running. At 9:48, Mike steps in, trying to do the right thing. And just 1 minute after that, at 9:49, it's over. 4 minutes. That is all it took for a normal evening to end in an absolute tragedy.
You know, the news reports it as an incident, a statistic. But behind all the headlines and the corporate statements, the real point is this number. One life. One person who went to work just like any other day and never got to come home.
So both of these stories, they really force us to face a pretty tough reality, right? This huge disconnect between how we think of these giant public spaces and the actual dangers they can be hiding. And this right here really lays out what we could call the paradox of public safety. On one side, you have what we think keeps us safe, bright lights, cameras everywhere, but the truth is, those things can't do much against a truly unpredictable person. We feel safe in a crowd, right? But that can lead to the bystander effect, where everyone just assumes someone else is going to step in. And all those exits we see as our way to escape, well, an attacker sees them as their way to escape too. So all of this brings us to one final thought. A question to kind of carry with you after this is all over. It's really about how stories like these can change how we see the world around us every single day. Look, the point of this isn't to make you terrified to go to the store. It's about being aware. The world isn't always the safe, predictable place we want it to be, even in the most familiar spots. So, the next time you hear those automatic doors slide open, what are you going to be thinking?